Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 8th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a reminder that I'm taking off tomorrow and Friday, so there'll be no chart lesson tomorrow, and obviously um, no mid-morning chart tomorrow or Friday either on the website. So I'm doing this a little bit early today. It's just a little after 2:30. Obviously our cutoff time is 2:30, so I'd like to start doing this thing every day around 2:30, but a lot of times I just can't get to it. Um, I take it by the time I get to it, it's 3:30 or 4, and but I'd like to start doing it around this time every day. So when I can, I'll try to do it earlier, and if I can't, I just can't get to it. But I prefer to try to do them earlier, and I'm sure a lot of y'all would like to see them earlier. Uh, anyway, because I guess some of you probably can't look at it till late in the evening anyway, but there's a lot of you probably like to wrap your day up sooner too. So I'll try to get this out earlier when I can. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But as you'd kind of expect, this just when I first started logging on, this bar was looking very bearish, but we've had a little rally going on here just after 2:30, and I mean the market has shot up 4 or 5 bars straight up. So we may end up closing up. My guess is it's just going to be a range day, and this is going to close as a neutral bar. After a big strong sell-off like that, you just no doubt you'd expect to maybe get some kind of consolidation type day. And I mean, you see, we had a big day here, then we had a consolidation reversal type day. Same thing here, big bar here, and we kind of consolidated that day. So that's kind of normal. Um, Here's another big move down, and we rallied some off the lows, but kind of a neutral day there as well. So that's pretty typical after a big sell-off or a big rally. You kind of get a consolidation or even a reversal type day sometimes. So we'll see how this day ends up, but right now it's looking very neutral, as you can see there. Looks like it's still climbing higher. And I mean, we could rally all the way back to the top of the range and back down again before 4 o'clock. Um, I would expect that to happen because once you get much past 3, you don't get a lot of movement. Sometimes you do, but for the most part, you don't. So I would guess that we're close to seeing what this day is probably going to look like, but we'll take another look at it maybe before I wrap up the lesson and see where we're standing. But as right now, it's kind of a neutral consolidation type day. So let's flip over to the 2000 tick intraday chart, take a look at it and go through the trades, and we will go from there. Okay, here's our chart for the day. And you can see a lot of mixed trading, and these are the hard kind of days for the mixed trading because you're not turning consistently at the same place. You're turning down here, up here, down here, up here, down here, or down here. Same thing on the highs. I drew these lines where originally earlier this morning you were getting the most touches. And so they might need adjusting a little bit from what I've done here. By the end of the day, maybe you could adjust them down a little bit and maybe even up a little bit. I left them where they were just so the chart lesson is not too confusing. But this is a hard range kind of day to trade because you don't have the consistent turns. And that makes it more difficult. So anyway, here's the little rally I was talking about that just and it's still going. I mean, you can see we're still trying to push higher. This came real quickly in just a few bars in a few minutes there, and so when I started opened the daily chart, we were trading down here, and by the time I really got going good, we were all the way up here on this rally. So that moved pretty quickly. So the day may look totally different by the time we get done. We'll just have to see. But there's the big picture, and you can see it's for the most part during the trading day, it was a range day. Really from about just before lunchtime on, it was a mostly negative bearish kind of feel to it because this is a pretty strong move down. Then you had a correction. It looked like we were going to attempt a retest of the lows, but never got it. There could be an overshoot here. My guess is there's maybe an overshoot right here, although I don't know because you can see that gap right there, and it's right over the midline. We got another little pullback and touch there. So this may or may not be off Actually, there isn't a gap there. I see a little stem right there. So take that back. This actually looks more correct right here. So this looks like an overshoot, and then we still made a new low, and but we never had a break in a new low, and that may be why we're rallying out of here now. I would expect this to pull back some and catch up to this EMA, but we'll see what happens before I finish this thing. We'll take another look at it. But there's a big picture, and again, it makes it a little harder to trade because you don't have these consistent turns. What you want to see is it consistently turn off this line up every time, and that makes it real easy. It's a no-brainer. Just every time you get a good signal bar off that line, trade. Same thing up here. You're not turning down consistently off the same lines. We maybe got a little more consistency up here than we did off the lows, but we still didn't get a lot of consistency. So if it turns down off this line every time, when it comes back to it and you get a good setup, take it. That's pretty much what you have to do. And I saw somebody post in the forum today that they just couldn't seem to pull the trigger on those trades. They didn't trust it. But that's what our minds will do to us. They'll talk us out of perfectly safe and good trades and right into some horrible trade. You can justify in your mind why you should take some horrible trade, but you see a perfectly good setup and you'll find a reason to talk yourself out of it. Well, that's just the trading demons, and you got to get past those. Some people never can. I'll be honest with you. That's what trips up most people. Most people, it's not because they can't learn to read the chart or do what we do. They can just never get past the mental hurdles of trading. And unfortunately, some people just cannot do it. You got to have a very strong mind. You got to be able to focus everything out and focus on what the setup's there. And if it fits the rules, you got to take it. And if it doesn't, you got to skip it. And it's really not that difficult to stick to the rules for some people, but for other people, that's the hardest thing in the world to do for whatever reason. They're just not very disciplined, and they have a hard time forcing themselves to be disciplined. And it's just our makeups, and it's how we're wired and how we tick, and that's just the way it is. Some people are very laid back and easy going, where other people are short tempered, and you usually can't help that. That's the way you're wired, and that's the way you made. And this thing's still rallying here, so we might have bottomed out for a short term. So we'll see. Again, this thing could come crashing down before the day's over. But this has been a fairly strong rally here. Anyway, let's zoom in and go through the trades. And really, because we had this 7:15 news this morning, there really wasn't anything you really didn't need to get into a trade until after probably 7:15. So I didn't mark anything till I blocked that out. But then there wasn't really anything. There's just too sideways and too choppy. And that took us into the next news item, which was at 9 o'clock. There's a couple of them. The Fed chair was speaking. Also, there was job openings, and both those are high volatility red news items, and actually both of them are have to do with the economy and so forth. And lately, anything to do with the economy sends this market reeling. So you need to be out. And you can see it did affect the market here. But I think by the time we got through all this, you were good to go again. And it wasn't long before you had this bounce back off the original overnight support. Notice that it was pretty consistent up until we broke through here. And that was just a news item. And usually the news will take those moves back. So there was a good chance we could expect the prices to come all the way back to here where the news set off at 9 o'clock. So when you got this bounce here with a strong signal bar, you might even trade that on the engulfing, but that's a really big bar to trust on an engulfing bar, 19 ticks. I'd wait for it to close. If it breaks above that, you're probably going to take off. And if you took that trade, that may be the only trade you needed today. Of course, we run back up to the highs where we turned down the last time, right across there. Okay, I had a little interruption there. I think we were talking about this trade, and this rocket straight up right to the last couple of highs across here. And then we get a lower high with a very nice signal bar, still plenty of room back to the EMA. You don't worry too much about the EMA on a range day anyway. And you can clearly see this channel comes up, gets a close outside, new high. This was technically a second entry short here, and then a lower high off of that. And this was technically a failed second entry long as well, because there's a first entry, and actually I take that back. No, it's not. This is just follow through. So forget that. Never mind. I was thinking it was a failure, but it's not. It's just a lower high off a range. Plenty of room back to the midline of the range. Turns out to be a pretty good trade. This one was tempting. There's like a triple test there, but that's just so congested looking. And we're very close to the lows here. So it's really, the idea on a range day is you got to get short up here and you got to get long down here. You can't get short too late in the trend. I think I even talked about that in a post on one of the, either somebody sent me an email or I talked about it on a post on the forum. And they were trying to trade a failure way down here. And you don't trade, that's why I try to tell people, if you're not a skilled chart reader, and that means you've been doing this for several years and you're very good at it, you pretty much make money every day. If you're not that, if that doesn't describe you, you don't need to be trading failures, period, at all. Because you don't trade failures in that situation. You might trade a reversal off the high up here or off the low to get back long, but that's what a reversal is. There's two types of failures. There's the reversal and there's a continuation pattern. And you can't trade a continuation pattern in a range. So it would have to be a failure, which has to be off the highs of the range or off the lows of the range. Otherwise, you can't trade a failure in a range because you'll just get chopped to pieces. Same thing with second entries. That's why we tell you not to trade the second entries. So I hope that makes sense. But trust me when I tell you this, you don't need the reversals. If you're not a skilled chart reader making money every day, you don't need them, and you're not good enough to trade them anyway. So don't attempt it. There's a reason I don't teach them in the manual, and that's it, because it just confuses people and it causes people to have losses. And you got people trying to trade them and they don't even understand. They don't even know what they're looking for. They just see a failed second entry and they think that's a good failure, and they try to trade it and then it fails and then they can't figure out why. It's because you traded it in the wrong context. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but I say this all the time and people just don't listen. We have this down to a science, and if you just follow the rules and listen, you'll have so much better chance of success than you would if you try to go off on your own and do things differently or tweak this or tweak that. You're just setting yourself up for failure. So anyway, we drop on down, and notice we got two legs down here on this failed break lower. The support was right across here, so this is a failed break lower, way away from the EMA. And you do have your break of your trend and a couple of legs down. So pretty nice second entry here. I marked it green because generally you probably want to wait on a high or low or something just to confirm that this move down is over. And so this is a little more aggressive. These turn out to be good trades usually, and if you'd have taken this one, you probably get a runner and you probably have a nice move. If you'd taken either one of these, it's probably the only trade you needed today. So that's a good thing about range days, is sometimes when you catch these moves, you should catch a runner in it, and maybe that's the only trade you need. You only need one or two of them for the whole day. Of course, this runs straight up. We find resistance up here, and notice we try to go higher. We get a triple test right there with a big bearish bar. I don't think I would trade that one on the engulfing bar because there's too much support there. But when this closes at a new low, and if it breaks lower, it's probably going to go on lower. There is a lower high here, but I think we're too close. There's not enough room there, and we're really close to the midline, so it could bounce on you easily, which it did. But notice it probably would have worked, but this is a concern that it bounces, and it could have bounced right off that line or right at those lows, and then you'd been in trouble. So, and you can't go long up here. You're only looking to get short up here on this side. And of course, we break out and fail, and you get a lower high right below the EMA up near the last resistance. And you might have moved your line up now. You might have moved this line up to here because you're getting more touches there now. So anyway, prices run down. You get a break here. It tries 3 times to go higher, and then you does try to go higher once, twice. Actually, you get a double top. It tries to go higher once, twice. So it's a failed second entry long. You got a new low there, and you get a first entry second. It's also a second entry short, and it's a triple test. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, you got multiple read, a big bearish signal bar. A lot of reasons to like that trade, so I like going short there. It ends up going into this tight range, and look how flat everything got. However, that trade was good. You got an easy scalp. I wouldn't try to go long here. Not enough room on either one of those. This looks congested here. It's tempting to go short, but you got too much support there. It drops on down, and where does it bounce? It bounces down here once again. And you also have a close outside and a new low on this channel here. I didn't color it, but they don't have to be colored. It just helps see it easier. Close outside, new low, and it bounces off the support. Decent reversal type bar way away from the EMA, and once again it's a first entry, second entry. So you may take that trade. Again, you may want to wait on a lower high, but a lot of times you just don't get them. So you got to be real careful. It's tempting to take that trade, and if you're skilled at this, maybe you take it. But you just got to remember that sometimes it's better off to wait on that high or low. But if you took this, I guaranteed you get a runner on that. And it runs straight up, breaks out, and it finds resistance over here. And again, you might have adjusted your range again to fit more like that. Notice there's a lower high here with very neutral bar and a lot of support there. Failure here, but it's on the wrong side. But really, this is the way I looked at this. This looks like one leg down, correction, second leg with a bounce. So that's going to act like a trap. And you can see that thing just took off straight out again. So I like that trade. Even though you got the break higher, that clearly looks like a leg down. And you might have even drawn your short term. There's a shorter term channel right there. And you can see that. You break, move to a new, moving down, continuing to go lower. So it's like a little spiking channel down. We bounce here, get a break outside, move to a new low. And again, we kind of make another different low here. And that's the problem. We keep making, we're not bouncing at the same locations. But this comes back. I think this was an overshoot in the end. I think we already talked about that. It was hard to say if it was here. To me, it seems to fit better here, treating that as an overshoot because you can see that fits really well underneath as well. And so I think we had an overshoot and then turned down. There's actually, this broke lower and turned up. So technically that's a second entry short right there, but this is the signal bar, the green bar, and I don't think you can trade that. It's too bullish. And especially with the support there. Then we break underneath. This looks a lot like a triple test. We made a lower high each time, so they're not really consistent enough to call that a triple test. There is a second entry short right here. I meant to mark that at least green. There's just a little bit of steam. I still think this closes in the lower 2/3. It closes in the lower third, but it's real close. So, but it is a second entry short. We just came off the trend line again. But a few minutes later, we get another one. First entry, second entry, and this one definitely has a higher, is definitely a good signal bar. So, quick move down. And there's another second entry right here. But I don't think there's enough room right there. And we didn't quite get back to the trend line either, so I'm not crazy about that one either. And the next thing you know, we're going higher. You don't want to be going long yet because that's a really strong trend down. Um, not to have made a new low yet. So it's dangerous trying to get long here, basically, until you get a confirmed trend line, which comes really here, but there's no setup there. But a few minutes later, you get a second entry long right off the trend line, the EMA. When it sets up like that, that's usually a good trade. Nice move. It's not good for a whole lot, much more than a scalp, but it's still a good trade. And you run up and then you get the break here, and we've moved to a new high, but we never made a new low on this khaki channel. And what it might be is that we might have a separate trend here with a break and a leg, and then a new trend here. Like so. So it could be two separate trends. And you could have played it that way, either way. And if you did play it that way, maybe we have an overshoot here too, because maybe it's more like that does fit better. And you can see you would have had a little bit of an overshoot. Not a whole lot, but it's enough to say, hey, we might reverse here, which we did. Um, I don't see any more trades to the upside, and then we're trending down. And you actually get a first entry, second entry short right here, right off a key entry point. This is another little spike and channel down. And this looks like an overshoot too. I'm not sure that it is, but it looks like one. I mean, it kind of fits in there either way. But the fact that we just reversed like that again leads me to believe it's probably an overshoot. Okay, but anyway, that was the last trade. A second entry short. It's a little bit congested, so I made it green. It's late in the day too. But this rally, we got two quick legs up, and we just kind of chopping sideways. My guess is we won't do much more than that through the rest of the day. There's another almost hour left in the trading day, but we could take some of that back. It's hard to say. But let's just draw our trend line there and look at it. Yeah, prices are struggling to try to make a new high there. It's just one trend up. I thought maybe there was a break and a new high, but it's just one trend up. It was kind of hard to tell if we got enough movement there. But that looks like one move up, and it looks like we're attempting to make a new test the high again. And if they can't test it, we may sell off a little bit here, but my guess we'll just continue to chop sideways in the middle of this original range. That's what it's looking like to me. But you can see how it ends up. You can go back and look at it. You've probably already seen it by the time this video came out, but I'm doing this in real time here, so it's only about 3:05 my time, and the market doesn't close till 4 o'clock. So, and that brings up another point. Somebody made the comment in the forum about my chart being an hour off. Well, remember, I'm Central Standard Time, so if you're on Eastern Time, yeah, your chart's going to say an hour different than me. So don't let that confuse you. Just know your 9 o'clock is my 8 o'clock, or my 10 o'clock is your 11 o'clock, and so forth. So I'm on the Central Standard Time, so my chart will be set for Central Standard Time, and I'll show Central Standard Time times on my chart, and yours will maybe an hour off. So for some reason, people tend to miss that fact and get confused. Don't let that happen. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is going to wrap up our week. I'll be out of pocket. Please, if you will, hold your emails and things like that, because I'll have very limited access. In fact, a couple of those days, I may have zero access to email where I'm going. So hold your emails if you would, unless it's emergency. I'll try to look at them for emergencies, but it may be Monday before you hear from me, or because I won't get back till late Sunday night, and I won't feel like looking at email then. So, but just be patient. I always get back to everybody. So if you send me an email, I will get back to you. just be patient. If you've got an emergency, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Just it may take me an extra day or two, but I will get to it, and I will take care of you, and we'll get you back on track, whatever you need. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll see you Monday. I'm done for today. I'm done for this week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.